Hello and welcome to another edition of All About Berea. I'm Chad Hembree.
And I'm Beth Myers.
Join us in the studio. We have Mr. Jonathan Schinhofen.
Hi, Chad.
And a very special guest, Randy Westbrook, who's going to join us for the show. But he is actually here to talk about the book he just released, 50 Years of Exile. Thanks for being here, Randy.
So does that mean he's actually been somewhere else for 50 years?
I'll let you figure that one out.
That was funny.
Sorry. I laughed.
Man, yeah. No, you blew air. I think that was different than laughing, but anyway.
We're going to get started. We've got a lot of news to cover. So here are 4 things you need to know.
Okay. Thank you, Chad. Hundreds of search and rescue workers and aid workers gathered at Indian Fort Theater early Tuesday morning as another massive search for the missing Berea teenager Brooklyn Farthing took place. Brooklyn went missing over a month ago on June 22nd, and so far there has been no indication of what might have happened to her or where she might be. The search on Tuesday concentrated on the perimeter around Highway 421 and Highway 21. Trooper Paul Blanton from the Kentucky State Police, who coordinated the effort, stated that they covered 16,540 acres in their search. The 18-year-old Brooklyn was last seen in the Big Hill area. There had been a fire at the residence where her sighting had been reported, but no sightings have been reported since then. People from around Berea have all been worried and concerned that a teenager from the community disappeared so completely. The search on Tuesday included, along with the state police, the Madison County Rescue, Rockcastle Search and Rescue, Berea Forest Service, Medical Reserve Corps, Estelle County Rescue, Eastern Kentucky Trackers, Knott County, Wolfe County, and Harlan County Rescues. The search and rescue workers used horses and ATVs in the search, as well as boats, to search 4 bodies of water. Blanton said he was not sure if there would be searches in the future, since the detectives had to process the evidence from the search first. People from all over Berea are going to mourn the loss of Tilly, the trail dog who loved to accompany people on their hikes up and down the trails at Indian Fort. She died this Tuesday afternoon. She had had a mass in the bladder and had been sick for some time. Her owners, Bonner and Ron Deaver, had been posting on the Facebook site, and there have been many interviews and articles of Tilly, this incredible dog who became larger than life in the community. People from all over the country knew Tilly as the dog who would always accompany them on their hikes at Indian Fort, greet them when they drove into the parking lot, and eagerly accept belly rubs and treats. She will be missed by many. Things are heating up in the Madison County races, and there may be the first ever Republican primary for Judge Executive next year. Both Dwayne Curry, the codes administrator for the county, and Reagan Taylor, a realtor, said they would be entering the race at the Republican Women's Club potluck on Friday. Larry Combs and Ronnie Terrell have also indicated that they will be running for the position of Judge Executive as well. Magistrate Roger Barger made some provocative comments at the potluck, stating that the current Judge Executive didn't like them to question how the county government spends money. He brought up that the county had bought plywood in Sturgis when it could have been bought from a local vendor for the same money. Clark confronted the statements at Tuesday's fiscal court meeting and had Leroy Brock from the county road department and another employee stand up and explain that the plywood they had purchased from Sturgis had a waxy coating and lasted 4 to 5 times longer than what they could purchase locally. Barger stated he checked the receipt at Lowe's and thought it was the same product. He didn't realize it was a different brand. And last of the 4 things about Berea, the Bereans for Fairness will hold a picnic on Saturday from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Berea Memorial Park. People who support lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender equality are asked to attend. Mitch Barrett will be playing. The group has continued to meet and attend the Berea Human Rights Commission meetings, but they have not spoken publicly at a city council meeting for some months. The Human Rights Commission in Berea had been writing a fairness ordinance for the town, but it has yet to be presented. This last council meeting, Diane Kirby asked if they could make a report soon. And that's it for 4 things about Berea.
Thank you very much, Beth. This search going on is probably the largest I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is actually the second one, because they did it around the Floyd's Branch area, I believe at the end of June 28th. So, yeah, this is the
It's just a massive effort. It's watching it on TV just to see how many people participated. And I knew that they had sent out a letter to all the churches asking for things. Our church was responsible for providing drinks, I believe.
Yeah. I had talking to someone from, the Methodist Church, so others. And it's, it really is like looking at a needle in a haystack. And frankly, I am surprised nothing has come up about this. I mean, it just, usually you would think something would come to light. But from what I gather, it's really hard. One thing they do emphasize is that it is still a search and rescue, that they have no evidence of foul play. Of course, I think for a lot of us, it being a month already, it's hard to imagine that, that she is still somewhere around here being held against her will or in dire straits. But,
coming on the curtails of that event in, was it Ohio, where the guy had the 4 girls or 3 girls all those years?
Those 2 brothers. Are you that incident you're talking about?
Yeah, but it was just the one guy that knew about it. Yeah.
Right, that's true. That's true. And that's the kind of thing you don't expect to go on so long. It's like, doesn't anybody know, especially in a smaller town?
Well, somebody, and they didn't mean anything bad by it. It was like, how long will they keep searching in the same area? And I thought, well, as long as it takes. Until they have some evidence. Otherwise, they'll search.
Right. I think a lot of people kind of expected them to have given up by now, and they won't. They're cagey about if they've gotten any information, of course, leading them to search in certain areas. What they'll say is that they've just received a lot of tips. But yeah, it'll be. I really was hoping they would find something definite, and maybe they did. I mean, right now they're not releasing yet. I mean, I know they didn't find her, but they might have found other things.
Now, where was it they found their phone? Did you all hear about that? Her phone was found. I know that, but I don't know where.
Really? Now, I heard about there being a ping, like the last time it pinged was up around Floyd's Branch, but I didn't know about the phone actually being
where was
found.
that at? Do you know where the pinged? Or what
I thought that was around Floyd's Branch, is what I understood, the first place they searched. Yeah.
I hate it for the family. Anyway, we'll keep following that story, of course. Now, you go moving into politics for just a minute. We have 4 people you said that have officially
4
signed?
people have at least informally said that they plan to run for
judge executive. But they've publicly said, let's put it that way.
Right. It wasn't in just a private conversation.
Declaration of intention. I feel all good saying that.
The pre-filing declaration of indication to run.
Now, are they all Republicans?
Well, Larry Combs is a Democrat, and what's interesting is I'm not sure what Ronnie Terrell is. I've heard Republican and Democrat, so I'm not sure which party he would actually be running for.
But Ronnie's going for magistrate, right?
I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
that would be
fine.
magistrate.
But he did declare his intention.
Thank you for reminding me of that. So that takes. No, actually, that in my mind,
Kent Clark.
Oh, right. If you count Kent, yes, that's 4.
And then, of course, our incumbent, and he is Democrat, right?
Right. So both Kent and Larry would be the Democrats, and then.
Well, I don't know. Is Larry going to run independent? We need to get him in here.
That's true.
I'll tell you what.
What we know now is he's currently serving as a Democrat, as a magistrate.
What do you think, Randy? You look like you're
I don't. I'm just hanging out.
I have no wish to express an opinion on the county government matter. Thank you very much.
What happens when I don't know. I mean, in the county government, what happens if the incumbent wins the primary? We saw it happen. Well, actually, I do know what happens because it happened with the sheriff.
With O'Donnell and
didn't
Combs.
O'Donnell run independent after he lost the?
Yes, he did, and actually, he was the incumbent, and Jerry got the Democratic nomination.
Pull a Joe Lieberman, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
So they're in the primary. They normally tend to.
I mean, it would be up with the voters. I mean, if people decided. I mean, Larry has served longer than Kent, right, as magistrate. It's
been there a long time. We're going to have him. I'll tell you what. 2 weeks from now, Larry, if you're listening, I'm putting you on the hot seat. You're going to come in here and talk to us. All right, moving on. You said Ronnie Terrell had talked about magistrate. We also had another person for magistrate, that Brian Combs, correct?
Jerry Combs' son.
Yes. Yeah. And that'll be interesting. We'll have to talk to both of them as well. Of course, we're talking about election
actually getting involved.
Not even this November, right? We're talking about election for next November, and they're already gearing up.
Well, the primaries,
everything's getting hot.
But the primaries are what? February or?
I don't think until May.
May.
Yeah, it's May because
well, it's time to gear up.
They don't even know what the precincts are yet. Which, of course, the county will not affect it.
I vote for people I know locally, usually. I don't know these people.
Well, and in general, that's... Personally, I wish the county system was like the city. I wish it was nonpartisan. But because that's when you start getting into, in my opinion, partisan battles that are really just not that relevant.
It's not always
at a local level.
I can vote against somebody I know too.
Yeah, exactly.
But that has something
protest votes.
That has something to do with it, usually from a local perspective.
That happened to Kent the last election. Someone that hardly did any running at all had all these votes, and it was votes against.
Well, somebody can lose an election in a district that is primarily Democratic or whatever, even if they are a Democrat, if a lot of people know them and don't like them.
Well, in the in the
or
local,
Republican, either way, it can go either. If
in the local races, the party doesn't matter so much.
As
whether
much,
you're Democrat or Republican has more to do with who you know and whether your family was historically Democrat or Republican.
But I would see both Kent and Larry being. They have been in the past very popular. And Berea as well. Race. So to have the two of them fighting for a Democratic primary, that's going to be interesting. It's not something I would want to take a bet on.
No,
as to who would get that. Because I don't think has ever had a real strong opponent, at least not in the last couple. Sorry.
And of course, our opinions down here are going to be completely different than the ones in the northern part of the county. So
there are people in the northern part of the county.
Oh well.
I think there's a school
Hey,
up
if
there.
They can ignore me, I can ignore them.
Randy resembles that remark.
He drove down to Berea today to be interviewed on the radio station, so kudos there.
I love Berea. My grandmother graduated from Berea College in 1930.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, and then I've got roots up in Jackson County.
Well, you don't have to talk about that.
No, we're talking about
No, Jesus.
It's actually amazing how much bleeds over with Jackson. I remember
we follow my family.
Not Jackson, Kentucky, Jackson County.
Yes, Jackson County.
McKee.
My family came through Barberville, through Knox County.
My parents met at Union College.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of ties. It's a small world. What was our last story on there? Oh, the dog.
Yeah, I need to talk about Tilly.
Okay, talk about Tilly.
Yes, we have to give a special little memorial for her.
I was so sad. Beth and I had just gotten to Kentucky, and we went to hike the Pinnacles, and this dog comes running up, and we're like, oh no, because we only knew there were a couple houses around there. Dog is lost, and we looked at the tag. My name is Tilly. I'm not a stray. Let's go for a hike. So, we fell in love with her instantly. But more recently, we went up to, I guess it was 2 Mother's Days ago. We went up to take a hike, and it was raining. It was just raining the whole time, and
it was pouring. We were drenched.
Well, Beth is not one to curtail her activities because of rain or lightning or tornadoes or anything. But so we went there, and there was Tilly, and she followed us and the 2 boys up. And when we got to the West Pinnacle, we were all bound and determined that both kids were going to get to stand on top. And it took us a while to get up, and took us a while to get down, and we got down, and there was Tilly lying down under under an overhang, staying dry, waiting for us so that she could come down with us. It was just a lovely Mother's Day.
What they say when I've talking to Bonda and Ron, and Ron found her at the Berea College campus and brought her there, which she must have just felt like she had landed in a bed of clover to be near these hiking trails. But she is loyal. She always stays with the people that she hikes up. She never switches groups. And they would talk about how she would come in the morning, and as soon as she would hear car door slam, she would take off to the parking lot to hike up. That was like her daily routine. as a hiking dog. And the other thing they talk about is that she'd beg food all the time because people always wanted to feed her. And she always they said she had this way of always looking a bit bedraggled. Like she had a way of kind of coaxing people to want to take care of her, to the point of where they had one dog was like pouring water into her mouth, like she was like lying down. Ron and Bonner are like, she's fine. They said everybody was just constantly feeding her. And just, it's amazing how many people just from all over know Tilly. She might be the best known Berea citizen in the country.
Well, it's a good story, and one that will be shared many times in the future, I am certain. And then the last thing on your list there was the picnic.
Yeah, the Bereans for Fairness picnic this Saturday.
So that's coming up very quickly, and it should be good weather.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the weather; it looks like it's going to be good all weekend.
Yeah, so we'll have yet to see.
Good to see Mitch.
When that might happen.
Good to see Mitch is still playing.
Yeah. Mitch was actually in here 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
excellent songwriter
with his daughter, who was in the movie Red River Moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see the movie or hear about it, the Red River Moon?
No, but I've been listening to his music for a while now. I've got a CD from him, I think from 1985. He was a group called Mandala or something like that.
Wow.
He's been around for a while.
He has been playing a long time, and he was telling us very interesting stories about house concerts, which I was completely out of the loop on.
Right, that you travel around, you stop these places, houses, the person invites their friends and passes the hat, basically. Yeah.
Which now, honestly, I guess I was aware of the concept, but didn't realize the practice of it in that genre of music. What I had experienced is more on the classical side.
So he just passes the hat?
Basically, yeah.
At these house concerts, I believe, you just pass it around and people put in money.
Show, but nobody puts in anything. That's like,
well, no, they're told before they come. It's you need.
I guess it's the host's responsibility to make sure that
you need to pony up $10, $20, whatever it is.
It's like if you're invited, you should give something. Yeah. But,
anyway, thank you for the stories, and that was a lot to talk about. But now let's move right on into let Randy talk about this wonderful book that he has put together, which I'm loving it from the cover already. I haven't read it yet, obviously, but...
Well, the title of the book is 50 Years of Exile, and it's out on Acclaim Press, and took a long time to put it together. I interviewed 13 members of the band, members who are with the band now, and from all the different lineups, because when you talk about Exile, you're also talking about the Exiles, which a lot of people from Richmond and Berea remember. J.P. Pennington is a guy that a lot of people know. He's from Berea, Kentucky. Went to Berea High School. Had a band in Berea when he was in high school. That was different from the Exiles. He took a little time off the Exiles and then came back to that group. But anyway, so the book covers the history from 1963 to the present. They're back together. They just got inducted into the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame this summer. And the book's got, it chronicles the whole history. It's got over 100 photos in it. There's a lot of stuff that was loaned to me from the 1960s. Mac Davenport loaned me quite a few photos, and actually I play music with some of the guys who used to be in the Exiles. Mac Davenport, Mike Howard. We just played a gig last night, and we did a big launch for the book in Richmond on June 18th. It went really well. They talked about it in the paper, and a lot of the members showed up, and we had a jam session, and it was fun to get to play with these guys. J.P. Pennington, Buzz Cornelison, Billy Luxon showed up, Mac Davenport, Mike Howard, Bernie Faulkner was there, Paul Martin, who was in one of the last lineups of the band in the 90s, who plays with Marty Stewart now and sometimes plays with Kathy Mattea. He showed up. And I don't want to leave anybody out. Let's see who else showed up. Marlon Hargis showed up, and so did Steve Getzman from the current lineup of the group. Other people, Lee Carroll helped out with the book. He was the music director for the Judds for a while before he joined Exile. And So
what it does to me is it reiterates what a small world that music genre is, because there's so many interconnections between groups.
So, Randy, were you a fan? What brought you to get interested in researching for this book?
I grew up in this community, so I was familiar with the group. I heard about them growing up. Of course, Exile was a rock band up until the 80s, and then they became a country band. And so one of the few groups that actually was able to cross over and actually switch genres, but they pulled it off. They had a massive number one hit in 1978 with a song called "Kiss You All Over." It was
I remember that one.
Number one on the pop chart for 4 weeks in 1978.
Did you watch them play when you were
no, I was pretty young, but I've seen them several times, in the last couple of years.
Right.
I watched a lot of footage, but you mentioned, people doing things. Somebody like J.P. Pennington has written songs for Alabama and the Forrester Sisters, and who else? They did a version of Huey Lewis and the News, Heart and Soul. They did a version of that before Huey Lewis and the News had a hit with it. They didn't have a hit with it, but the version that Huey Lewis and the News did was almost exactly like the one that Exile had cut. And Kenny Rogers, JP and Mark Gray wrote songs for Kenny Rogers, and Mark Gray also co-wrote the Alabama songs too. But Sonny Lemaire, a member of the band, he's written a lot of songs. He wrote songs for Restless Heart, Diamond Rio. As you read the book, it's about Exile, but it leads in a lot of different directions.
Well, that's something that a lot of people are going to wonder about. How does a band keep the name and the players and just go,
what is the band without the people? Who is the band? Yeah.
Well, they had a lot of members pass through. Of course, if you grew up in Richmond, Jimmy Stokely was Exile to some people. He was the lead singer, the front man, and he passed away actually in 1985, and but was a great entertainer. I mean, if you listen to Exile, the first two LPs from 1973, people were surprised because there's like an 11-minute jam session on it, and they're like doing Jeff Beck covers, and it's more of a classic rock, almost a little heavy sometimes, And then when they got with the producer Mike Chapman in 1978, went a little bit more of a pop direction, but had a lot.
It worked. They had a number one
financial success with that. And if you go back and listen to the '60s Exile, there were a lot of soul and R&B type influences, and they actually cut a song with Tommy James in 1969, Church Street Soul Revival, which he cut later himself and had a moderate hit with it. I think for the Exiles, it reached 101 on the pop chart. And then I think when Tommy James cut it, it was in the 60s, reached 60 something on the chart. So, but it took them a long time to get this, to get signed to they had a few brushes with success in the 60s. They were on the Caravan of Stars tour with Dick Clark, and they got to play with groups like Paul Revere and the Raiders, and the Young Rascals, and the Yardbirds back when they had Jimmy Page playing with them. They got to meet Jimmy Page, who went on to found a group called Led Zeppelin.
I think I've heard of them.
You heard of them, yeah.
So is there a credibility problem though when you try to make the jump from rock or pop to country? I mean, is that
was an interesting transition that they made, and it talks about it in the book quite a bit. Exile was one of the bands that did a lot to kind of move country in new directions, and they said they weren't really a country band per se, but that was happening at a time when country music was changing and it was opening up to new sounds. And so the Exile sound of the 80s, there's definitely still an R&B kind of influence in the music, but there's also country elements in the songwriting, trying to write music that more use of the acoustic guitar, okay, which was a little bit less common in like pop rock at the time or some of that, and also writing lyrics with I don't know, whatever they did, it worked out for country music radio at that time. And so
what was their biggest country hit?
Well, it's interesting because they all stayed number one for 1 week.
Oh, okay.
They had 10 number ones. Yeah, okay. So I mean, I can tell you the ones that are still kind of popular with fans. I mean, there's "Woke Up in Love" is very popular.
That's my favorite. Yeah,
and that has a strong Southern gospel influence in that. Songs like "Give Me One More Chance," "I Could Get Used to You" is a popular one. "Super Love" is a popular song, but "Super Love" is the one that actually broke their string of number one hits, because I think it got a little bit of resistance from country music radio. It's a kind of a groove-based tune, real funky kind of tune, and they still do it as the encore for their, and the fans love it now, but it did not reach number one at the time, and it's one of their best known songs. And
so tell us, were there any just total surprises, something that just knocked your socks off when you were researching the band?
Well, some of it's not in the book. No, not really.
That will come out in his memoirs. That will get published in 20 years. Well, Randy,
they're all great guys. It was a pleasure to talk to all of them. It really was, and I didn't have a lot of. I mean, it took a little time to get the interviews, but comparatively to some other stuff, they were very helpful. To me. So
that's great
to get the book out. It couldn't happen without the interviews. Go ahead.
And I have to completely admit to being pretty clueless about the country genre in general. What I do know is their Years of Rock, and I know Kiss You All Over, that one was kind of the height of that. So was that the height of their commercial success, or did they, since I'm really not aware of what happened in the country realm, did they get even higher
10 number ones success? Is pretty cool.
Well, I don't know what 10 number ones 1 week, do
cool.
People know who they are? Do they, that kind of thing?
Well, the thing is, if you had a pop hit back in the day, that was, that means you sold many more copies than you had to have a country number one, essentially.
Right.
So,
right.
But that began to change, around 1990 when Garth Brooks began to have a lot of success. Then at that point, country music began to sell as many full-length CDs or albums, as country as pop music was doing. So. Yeah, but Exile is kind of a precursor to a lot of what ended up happening in country music, to bring in elements of rock and soul and stuff in country music. Now, those fusions after the 90s haven't always been great, in my opinion, by any means, But if you go see Exile now, it's great. They got this great 3-part harmony. I mean, nobody really seems to sing quite like them, to have that kind of blend, and they play all their own instruments. That was also a unique thing about them in the 80s, because a lot of country bands did not. They would get session people, or country artists would have session people play. Exile, because they had been a rock band, was a self-contained unit, and they were able to go into the studios in Nashville and do all of it themselves. And people may not always think of that as being revolutionary, but in its own way it was, because it was a little bit less dependent on just the session guys to come in and play. And
was there any sense, as you were interviewing them, that because I've interviewed people who haven't had the success they have, but with some people it's like some musicians, I was just so glad to have the experience of doing this, and some others it was always kind of that, like, you never made it as big as you wanted to. And I was wondering if with them, they if you had any sense where they were like, we really thought we'd be bigger than we were, or just more of a sense of this has been a great ride.
a lot of the people you talk to, it's just like anybody's life. I mean, there are disappointments in it. There are great moments, and they reach some pretty high moments. And when you get in terms of success, and I guess you get used to things and you want to keep it going. And but the music industry is competitive, and don't even get me talking about how it is now,
how brutal it is. Yeah.
Ever since all the downloading, it's been it's changed a lot. Well, I mean, the industry has not responded always in the best way to that, but
I'm looking here at the pictures on the front cover, and it's hilarious. The first one, they look like the Beatles. The very youngest pictures you see of the Beatles, they look like good schoolboys. Second one, they're like acid rockers, and
that's what like the 70s.
Yeah, right? And the third one, they could be like Huey Lewis and the News's younger brothers,
Bee Gees or something.
Yeah, and on the fourth one, I don't know how to describe them. They're
that's now basically just the last couple.
Yeah, years. But their look is, I don't know, they look like a bunch of old guys that are just, don't have anything to prove almost. Is there anybody who's been with the band the whole time in every lineup?
No. Actually, there, people think a lot about JP because JP was in the band. He was one of the members in 1963, which they actually there had been a band called the Fascinations that became the Exiles, kind of. And JP left a couple times in the 60s, and at the beginning he left at the beginning of the 70s, but he was in a lot of the key lineups of the 60s. And then when he switched from bass to being the lead guitar player, the band changed musically in 1973, and really from 73 to 88, the end of 1988, he was a major contributor to the band. And so people think a lot about Jimmy Stokely being with the band. He was there from 63 to 1979, but it's had a lot of different people pass through it.
So are they when they perform now, are they basically singing their old stuff, or are they still writing?
They just put out an EP.
Okay.
I guess I don't know if it's 2010 or 2011, but it had 5 new songs. It's really good too. But it's
still country.
Yeah, and it's got like I said, their music is always a mix of several different elements. And it was
they don't fit real neatly into any one of them.
It's the country lineup that they got together in 1983. Also had Les Taylor singing. He was in the country lineup, and a great vocalist out of London, Kentucky. Of course, all these guys have Kentucky ties. J.B. Pennington's from Berea. Marlon Hargis is from Somerset. And then Les is from London. Steve Gussman's from Lexington. So a lot of local ties. And even when they went to the later lineup, they got guys from Kentucky. Paul Martin's from Winchester. Lee Carroll was from Cave City and was going to UK for a while. He's got a band together now called Tin Can Buddha. Actually, Trip Bratton, who teaches at Berea College, plays with them sometimes.
So what's the where's your book being sold? Is this tell people to get on Amazon.com, or what's the best way?
Well, yeah, you can do that, or you can get it at in Richmond. You can get it at Hastings. In Lexington, you can get it at the Morris Bookshop, at Joseph Beth. I went by Barnes & Noble. They didn't have it out on the shelf yet, but we're doing a signing there in August, so they should be available soon.
You just answered my question. So that's where we can get this thing signed. Yeah.
The next event is Friday, which is in Somerset. It's a homecoming for keyboard player Marlon Hargis. The thing in Richmond was really for the Richmond Exiles that we had Billy Luxon and Mike Howard and Bernie Faulkner and Mac Davenport and Buzz, and then JP. So, but we hope to do a bunch of events, and so coming up, I know we have we're doing some signings at the bookstores in Lexington. We're doing it at the Morris Bookshop on August the 3rd, and we're doing one at Joseph Beth on August 17th. And Barnes & Noble August 29th, and hopefully in September we're going to do a kind of a homecoming for Paul Martin in Winchester. And so those kinds of events are good for the book.
Fantastic.
Tough to sell a book at my gigs. We do gigs, but when people come to see free music, they don't tend to
get that's right. It's not
whatever reason. But if you
opportune
if you do a book signing, you can, I don't know.
Imagine that. They want to buy a book at a book signing.
Hopefully,
No, I just want to watch
like
you
somebody where this is not his first rodeo.
Right. Well, we had a guy who didn't buy the book, and he had like the About the Author card, and everybody signed that, But, I mean, it's, whatever. It's good. You do what you can.
He's a fan anyway, right? That's all that matters.
I mean, the book sells for $24.95, and that's without tax. But it's a pretty extensive history. It's got over 100 photos in it. It's
it's a good coffee table book too.
Yeah,
it has enough, it looks like it has good stories in it, but it also is something someone can just pick up and kind of flip through.
Right. Yeah. Just read it.
So how long were you working on it?
Don't just put Cokes on it.
Yeah.
Do what?
How long were you working on it?
Back in 2010, I just got this idea, to contact people, and Facebook, helps with that. You can kind of find people that it might be.
Find some money to find somebody to find somebody, right?
It might be tougher to find somebody. And it just kind of snowballed, and when you interview one person, it goes pretty well, and then
they're in touch with someone, and then they know how to get in touch, right?
I'll tell you, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to keep Randy in here for a little while, and I want to ask him about the whole thing about publishing a book, the steps involved with that, and then Jonathan, I believe, is going to talk to us a little bit about
We're not going to try to make him play on your keyboard,
I don't think we can make that work in here, but we'll get him back for something else. Definitely, he's a man of many talents.
Thank you.
And Jonathan was going to talk about sports medicine. I think he had something he wanted to share with us as well. And of course, we've got a calendar of events coming up as well. So hang with us. We're with Randy Westbrook talking about his book, 50 Years of Exile. We'll be back with more Berea news. Hello and welcome back. You're listening to All About Berea. I'm Chad Hembree in the studio with Beth Myers, Jonathan Schinhofen, and he's smiling at me because he knew I'd do that eventually. And Randy Westbrook, who is joining us talking about his book, 50 Years of Exile. Now, before we get started in publishing, you wanted to mention a few more places to get the book.
Yeah, the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame has it too, and I talked to the Artisan Center in Berea, and they were interested in getting it. It may not be there yet. Also, the Community Trust Bank, where he had the launch, they have an art gallery. It's the gallery on Main, and they still have some signed copies down there. Just a few, very few, but everybody who was at that launch signed it. And there might be, I don't know, 8 or 9, 10, something like right around that left. And
okay, and those are going for?
They're. I'm not sure, but I believe it's $24.95.
The signed ones, even?
Well, I don't know. They may be selling those for $34.95.
Okay,
I'm not sure, but it would be. It'd be very difficult to get one with all those people, that many people from the different eras of the group all at once signing it. So it's a pretty cool thing if you can pick one of those up.
Excellent. Well, thank you. What I was asking before the break was, if you want to publish a book like this, well, how difficult is it? What are the steps to get published? I mean, anyone can self-publish, I know, but this is the real deal.
Yeah, and people do self-publish now, and sometimes that's good, and but it's to go through a publisher, which is what I wanted to do. You have to go through the process of sending it to somebody, and then usually somebody will reject you, or they'll say something like, we're not the right press for you, but I know somebody at this press who does this type of topic, or does books on music. Somebody might just do cookbooks or something, but they might know somebody who they can tell you about. And but yeah, the main thing I would say about trying to get something published is just to, a publisher wants to sell books. And so it needs to be some kind of topic that they think they can sell. And it's not particularly easy to sell a lot of stuff now, and that would include a book. But anything you can do to help the process, like that launch went really well. We sold a lot of copies at that. And we'll see how Somerset goes. I don't know. But if you can do events and have actual members of the band show up, not even just that, but also have, like, I have the Westbrook Trio that plays around Central Kentucky a lot, and so and Mac's actually been playing with that group, but we just show up and we play a few songs that Exile did, and some of the members will sit in or something, like that, and so anything you can do to help promote the book helps the publisher and helps to get them interested. And if it's a story that, they think people might be interested in, then you have to be able to write. And you have to have some skill level with that, because they don't want to have to edit everything, they do, but so it's just a lot of different factors, and getting it out, it takes a lot of time. You got to want to do it, and you've got to know that there's a chance that, nobody may pick it up. But then you do have the option of self-publishing, and if you self-publish, you pay all the expenses, and then you get paid, I guess, all of it, but for me, I signed a deal, and so I get a percentage. But a publisher helps with a lot of things, with distribution. It's just like making a CD on your own or something. You can, a label helps with distribution. So.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
I've got some fiction writer friends, and they would say that you can't take the manuscript and send it to two publishers at once, that you have to kind of send it to one and wait until they reject it before you send it to another. Is that wait?
That makes it kind of difficult, because somebody's sitting around waiting, and that would have to be a difficult situation. When I was trying to get a publisher, I went one at a time. So that didn't become an issue, but I don't, I'll probably try to write another book, and who knows,
Now, did you sell the book, or did you sell the idea and then write the book?
I wrote the book.
Okay, and then
I had it.
Yeah, okay.
Because I don't know as though people are too interested in hearing about an idea now.
Mm-hmm. They want it there in their hands, let's judge it on its merits. Yeah. Okay, right.
Because just showing you can do it is, that they want to see that's
not worth a lot, right?
That you can put it all together and do all the field work, do all those interviews, and then transcribe the interviews. It takes a lot of time, to do something like that. I mean, I'm not trying to, but it.
Well, and I assume they must have been pretty happy with it if they're going to events and signing it and everything. That's a lot of people to involve in a book, but was their feedback pretty positive about it? The band members, that is?
Yeah, it's even got some stuff on the back there.
Okay, some quotes from them. All right.
From five members, and then it's like Thomas Parrish endorsed it as well, who's a author who lives in Berea, Kentucky. He's written a lot of books.
Well, I'm looking at the years here, 63 to 2013. It didn't take you so long to get it published that it had to be 51 years of exile.
Yeah, and it's true.
That's true. Good point.
It would have changed everything.
That would have been
51 years of exile from publishing. Is this your first book?
It's my first book. Yeah,
Okay.
It's not my first publication. I teach,
well,
and
you did get a PhD, so right.
Yeah. And I've been, academic journals, those types of things, and I've done some editing for, for stuff for a press, and but yeah, basically the academic type of stuff in journals, and then conferences, and that type of stuff. But this is the first.
So the
book.
writing did not come as anything new or different, but this was the first kind of
I did have to
complete project in and of itself to sell, right?
And I was like, don't be too academic. Make sure not to do that.
Right. This has to be commercially broad appeal, right?
As much as possible. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate it. And I look forward to getting a copy and reading it. So that'll be exciting.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to run up to the bank and get one of those signed ones.
Please.
I think I will. I'm going to be up in Richmond tomorrow. I'm going to run in there to do that. Jonathan, now you wanted to talk a little bit about sports, which you're doing from time to time for us. What have you got?
Yeah, well, this is kind of difficult for me because I love football. But, the news just keeps getting worse and worse. And recently this thing came to my attention. There's a sports medicine physician named Pietro Tonino. He's actually worked as the team physician for high school, college, and the NFL. And he's at Loyola University Medical Center. And he has advice for parents who are considering letting their kids play football. The advice is don't. And this is, one of the first times that a qualified and prominent physician who really knows what it's about has simply said don't. And the reasons, we know about head injuries, and that's a big part of it. It's just becoming increasingly clear that a helmet will not protect against a head injury.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, scrapes and cuts and contusions, but...
I watch it too,
Yeah.
It's got to take a toll.
Well, and especially these kids, their bodies aren't developed. You've got maybe a 180-pound kid going up against, a 300-pound kid. And, I've seen Garrett County scrimmage against Berea Community School. It was brutal. It doesn't even begin to describe. Basically, on every play, offense or defense, Garrett County scored. It was just really sad on the kickoffs. Recovering fumbles on every defensive play they got.
And these kids aren't going to count the costs. Just because they're small and losing, they're still going to throw themselves at them, and risk even more injuries because their skill level is so much less.
Well, and that's the thing is we focused on head injuries, but this guy makes a really interesting point that baseball and football have a similar injury rate.
Wow.
But if you define a serious injury as a fracture, dislocation, or concussion, 3% of baseball injuries are serious, and 14% of football injuries are serious. And you can break a leg or blow out your knee in high school, and that follows you the rest of your life. That just doesn't get better. And the other thing is heat stroke. In the summer, and especially at the high school level, they don't have adequate medical supervision. Usually the most qualified person on the field, medical-wise, in practice, is the coach. And a lot of times high school players don't have really good physicians who really know what's going on with sports injuries. The NFL has this rule that a neurologist has to be on the sidelines.
Well, and I imagine these kids are going to lie too. They don't want to come out of the game. Right. So, you can't totally trust the judgment of saying, okay, are you seeing double or something? Your blood is up, it's getting competitive. And you've got that whole thing about not letting your team down,
Yes. So this guy, anyway, this guy knows, because, he's been a team doctor for the NFL. And it's hard for normal people to find these things, but his article is in Physician and Sports Medicine Journal. which if you're not connected to university, you might have trouble finding. But.
Well, I'm just thinking, and also his audience was totally negative for where he published, because they're like, oh, don't want that in the garbage.
Right.
That doesn't need to get out. I tell you what, do me a favor. Get a hold of our coaches here. Middle school, high school, whatever.
Okay.
And on the 14th.
Oh, Chad, he looks pained. He doesn't want to do it.
I'm a sports writer.
on the 14th, I want a coach in here. The 14th of August.
Okay.
We record on Wednesday nights.
This is your mission if you choose to accept it.
All right.
I'll do my best.
All right. Thank you. That's my challenge to you. It's not a command. I'm not telling you what. But my challenge to you is to have me a coach in here.
Okay.
On the 14th.
Okay. And am I going to grill him or are you?
we'll make it a joint effort.
Yeah. Because and
there won't be any grilling. He can grill us. How's that?
I'm walking wearing two hats here. So
we'll give him the ball back. He can beat us for a while. But,
all right.
But we need a coach in here.
Okay.
Someone that's with the kids with the.
Well, some of them are kids. You're going to elementary, middle school. We can still call them kids.
So anyway,
we
want them in here, and then later we may pull a player, or we may pull a player at the same time if they have one they want to bring. Okay, but you're right. And after you did that article on head injuries, I think you destroyed Mason ever having a football career, because his mother was like, "No."
You mean in the Berea Citizen?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. I can't shake the finger from
a lot of us think that way, but now we have like scientific backup for us as mothers. Well, actually, it's funny because Nevin and David, our two sons, glanced at this before we came here, and they were both like, "Oh no, we're never going to play football."
You're killing us, Dad. You're killing us.
All I have to do is say, "Do you want to turn out like me?"
All right, it is time for our calendar of events, and it looks like you've got quite a little list of things going on.
I do, and this isn't even all of it. So let me say at the if people want to see the complete calendar of events, there is one in the Berea Citizen and also on BreaOnline.com. But these are some of the highlights. This Friday, Escape from Planet Earth will be playing at the Madison County Library in Berea, a free showing at 1 p.m. It's in that theater. It's rated PG.
It's a cute movie.
Yeah, I have not seen it yet, but I have heard about it. And it really is such a lovely theater. I know the Richmondites are jealous because, of course, our building was built later.
See, it's great. You can go to the library, watch it for free, which saves you from breaking the law and downloading it on the internet. So it's just a wonderful experience.
And it's comfortable. It's a comfortable little theater. Then on Saturday, Parks and Recreation will be offering their annual, and I can't believe it's already time for this, back-to-school bash at the Berea swimming pool. There will be a free swim at 7:30, and the pool reopens then. And the movie Paranorman, how you say that?
Oh, Paranorman. Yeah,
we'll play at dark.
I haven't seen that one yet. I was kind of waiting for. If you want
to catch that this Saturday at the pool,
Netflix or something to get.
Once again, free.
I thought you were going to download it illegally.
No, I don't do that.
He already did
the
that.
Free movies keep you from doing that. I have. You know what? If I had ever even considered that, now
remember, he is a libertarian.
It would be a waste of time because I can't get to everything on Netflix or Amazon Prime.
You can't even get through the legal stuff yet.
I can't even get through my legal stuff. Why would I go to illegal stuff? And now we have this direct TV, that has the on demand. One day I was sitting there trying to figure up how many movie possibilities I had to watch that night. And when I hit about 3,000, I was like, that's ridiculous.
Now Netflix doesn't have all the movies it used to, right? They've been taking some off.
But they haven't taken anything off. So, they have a lot of really old movies on there, too. They don't get the new ones as quick.
The View Instant selections have been
Well,
shrinking.
when you have kids who that's what they watch. You're running out of stuff.
I'm talking about myself at 1 a.m. when I'm insomniac. I'm going through this.
When you have kids who that's what they watch, you're assuming I'm excluding you from that category.
When I sat and tried to figure it out, it was mind-boggling what all I could get to. Then, on top of that, I got to...
How many channels was it in Pink Floyd?
Thinking about how many films 16, you can watch online 13, for free 13. On websites like Crackle.
13 channels
and
on the TV to choose from. Excuse me. I just had to burst into song. It's all this music.
We're getting sidetracked.
1979.
Oh God, I bet you can do that, can't you? You can just spit out the dates.
I'll tell you.
It's
I'm
on side
so
3
intimidated
of the
by
wall.
musicologists.
I'll tell you what's free. I'll tell you what's free that everyone must see. Absolutely must see.
Okay.
And I don't know where it is. Just Google it. There's a place to find it. Vincent Price and The Last Man on Earth. It is a priceless movie. It is really good.
It's a lot of stuff.
A Vincent Priceless movie.
Yeah. If you
that was bad.
if you saw The Omega Man, which was horrible, and I Am Legend, which I refused to see, it's the first.
They're all based on the same.
Yeah,
short
it's
story.
the first adaptation of the original I Am Legend short story, and it is just fabulous. You must see it.
And what was it again?
The Last Man on Earth.
The Last Man on Earth by Vincent Price.
Well, it's starring
Vincent Price. And it's
priceless.
You just look for it in Google. Okay. All right. And we've discussed this.
It's legal.
So we covered Amazon. We covered YouTube. We covered Netflix. Yeah, you can go on now, Beth.
Okay. And just for our listeners, we are now back to the calendar of events. Let's contextualize this. Now, on Saturday night, not only can you go to the Back to School Bash, you can also go to a contra dance at night, 8 to 11 at the Russell Acton Folk Center. It's their monthly one. Ken Gall will be the caller, and the band ... will be playing.
I've never done contra dancing.
It is fun. You should try
I really enjoy it.
Am I interrupting the announcement?
No,
Well,
you're fine.
it seems to kind of be apropos now.
People
So
have been
please.
talking to me about contra dancing. It's
First,
like
you need to
popular.
contact Oliver
Well,
North.
I mean, you do really have to have an enjoyment of kind of structured dance.
And musicians play with that too. Like, don't you have drummers?
Oh yeah, you'll have you have a little band.
They get
in
really
there.
good
It's fun.
bands, and there'll be a lesson
Contra's
for
fun
beginners
because
at
of the
7:30
caller.
p.m.
The caller's going to tell you everything to do. So it's
And you just keep trading off partners. Okay.
And Contra tends to have a lot of stomping and swinging.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. The problem for us women is there's also always a lot more of a bus than men. So
Sounds a little
that's
too
the
crazy.
constant.
I don't know if I could do it. I was joking.
I'll throw.
I remember when I was pregnant and I did it, I got seriously sick. I couldn't handle it. Anyway. Oh, I got to finish this. Adults cost $7 and students and seniors cost $4. So, the next Tuesday, July 30th, the library is going to be hosting Tom Hubbard and a magic show at 11 a.m. This is going to be one of the last events at the library. They're winding down from their summer programming. So,
well, if
it's
you,
one of their last
if you haven't
gasps.
seen Tom, go see him.
Yes,
It's
definitely. He's one of Berea's,
he's a local person.
Berea's
He's good
beloved
musician.
magicians,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he's lots of fun for the kids. They really enjoy him. Now, the free Arts Alive concert that the Parks and Rec started a couple years ago is going to take place in August, as usual. The first concert is going to be Friday, August 2nd, and all of these are going to be at the Chestnut Square this year. Sometimes they've done it at the Berea Memorial Park, but this year all at the Chestnut Street Square beside People's Bank. Jimmy V and Screamin' John Blues duo is going to be performing at 7. So there'll be 3 more concerts there for the next 3 Fridays in August. And last, the next weekend of August 2nd and 3rd is going to be the annual Quilt Extravaganza taking place in Berea.
Once. I played the quilting festival. Whatever.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And we were outside. It was me and a trombone player.
These events different events are happening all over Berea. Some of the main ones are going to be at Berea Community School. And it's hosted by Berea Arts Council with exhibits, lectures, and demonstrations. And that is it for calendar of events.
Thank you very much, Beth. Like she said, if you want to see more calendar of events information, you can find it in the Berea Citizen or on BereaOnline.com. Just click on calendar. You'll find a full list of the events and a lot more. We want to thank our sponsors for this week's show. Thank Good Impressions Printing, who is actually making us a new order of shirts, which Beth is sporting
They're
a
really
shirt right now.
Awesome shirt.
as you can plainly see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Here, I'll hold it up to the mic.
Think real hard. No. Go to BreaOnline.com. You actually will see the logo, and that is on the shirt. We'd love to set you up with the shirt. If you would like one, just contact us. Also, I want to thank the Berea Citizen, who's been serving Berea for how many years now?
Started in 1899, so 113.
113 years. That is amazing. And, of course, Berea Online, which has only been here since 1995, but in today's market, that's a long time. So.
In the internet market, that's a long time.
Well, thanks again for listening. On behalf of myself and Beth Myers, Jonathan Schinhofen, and Randy Westbrook, join us next week for more Berea news.
All About Berea is brought to you by Good Impressions Design. For screen printing, trophies, plaques, signs and more, check out Good Impressions' full line of services, and make a good impression with your business today. On the web at goodimpressionsdesign.com. By the Berea Citizen. Serving the community since 1899, this Berea icon continues to produce award-winning news stories and features. Pick up your copy today, or sign up for a weekly subscription by calling 859-986-0959. By BereaOnline.com. Constantly updated, this site is the most up-to-date place to find what's going on in Berea. Loaded with videos, shows, stories, articles and a full calendar of events, this site has been the place to go on the web for Bereans since 1995. The name says it all, it's Berea Online. The opinions expressed on All About Berea are not those of BereaOnline.com, the Berea Citizen, nor any other sponsor. All About Berea is a production of Tech Talk Studios, and recorded weekly in Berea, Kentucky, in partnership with the Creative Tech Media Group and BereaOnline.com. All About Berea is co-produced by Rhonda McIntyre, co-produced and directed by Chad Hembree, and finally, our senior news editor is Beth Myers. If you would like to participate in All About Berea, or simply have a suggestion, we would love to hear from you. Just go to BereaOnline.com and click on All About Berea at the top of the page. For sponsorship opportunities, contact the Creative Tech Media Group at creativetechmedia.com or phone 859-626-6054. From all of us here at Tech Talk Studios, and on behalf of the cast and crew of All About Berea, thanks for listening.